Hey everybody, hope everybody's having a good week and welcome to our weekly career huddle. Every single week I always look forward to this session. And today's topic, we have a member, one of our Vyten members, actually asked us to pick on today's live. And so we're actually going to be talking today about how to sell yourself in an interview. So when you're in a job interview, um, it's always funny. They say, "Hey, what's up, Carson?"
Hey, how are you?
They always say in a job interview or about job interviews is like, doesn't matter if you're in sales, like that's what interviewing is all about, is selling yourself. But a lot of people are like super uncomfortable with that because it's like awkward to talk about yourself. It's awkward to like brag about yourself. And so that's going to be today's topic. We have a lot of folks who have just joined us. Hey, Madeline, good to have you. James, good to see you. James, I got to catch up with you about the podcast after this. It's good to have everybody here. If you can see me, hear me, just wave us at us down below. Down below as well, while we're talking about it, I think right about there on your screen, there's a little paper airplane icon. Hey, Dustin, thanks for joining us. Dustin actually, I think, has some exciting news that Dustin's getting ready to announce. I got the inside scoop that there's some good things happening in a job search there. But anyway, I get distracted really easily. It's like squirrel. So down below, right there, there's a little paper airplane icon. And so if you know somebody that would benefit from career strategies, mindsets, and tips, hit that little paper airplane icon, and you can actually just select their Instagram username and shoot this live straight off to them. It would be awesome for anybody that wants to share this with a friend. Hey, Burks, 713, Chris, how's it going? Chris is one of our Vyten interns that's going through our internship program this month in November. And we're getting ready. What's up, Christian? Good to see you. Jay, Love Gun Jay. We have a pretty big group starting our internship in December, right, Carson? You want to talk a little bit about that and how to apply for anybody who hasn't applied yet?
Yes, so you can find the application in our Instagram bio, in our link tree, and it's super easy apply on your end. Our end, we are looking through your LinkedIn profile because that is what a lot of companies have been doing. But our internship is super unique. It's completely remote and self-paced, so you can do it anytime during the week that you're available, so you don't have to worry about like having a constricted time schedule. Just as long as you get like every all the assignments in the week completed. But it's also a rotational program, and I'm not sure if you have heard of that before or are like familiar with it, but a rotational program allows you to have the opportunity to try different aspects of whatever your internship is. So for us, it's marketing, PR, analytics, and sales. So each week you get to learn a little bit about those careers and what those entail, and then you can see which one that you like the best based on the job experience that you will get. So.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and the link to apply for that is in our Instagram bio. Just check out the link tree in our Instagram bio. Just joining us. Hey, Queen, thanks for joining us. Quite possibly the coolest Instagram handle I've ever seen. OMG. That is pretty awesome. So thanks for joining us. This is our weekly career huddle where we talk about career strategy, mindsets, and tips. And we got a question from one of our Vyten members. Hey, Caroline Scott, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. We got a question from one of our Vyten members that said, in a 10 to 20-minute interview, like how do you sell yourself? How do you make the best impression that you possibly can in a 10 to 15-minute interview? So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. And then right here on your screen, there's a little question mark box with a little chat bubble. So if you have a question, a career question, a job search question, an internship question, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, hit that question mark bubble down below and just type in your question and submit it, and then we'll bring it up on the screen at the end of this session. So let's talk about job interviews a little bit. The first one in a job search, if you're trying to make a good impression, if you're trying to sell yourself, is you want to look the part. And so you absolutely have to look the part. And so a question, in the traditional job interview before the pandemic, looking the part was pretty easy, right? Because business attire clothing is, pretty cut and dry. And one of the tips that I used to give is check out the website for the company, or the Muse is also great, where they show like videos behind the scenes of what it's like working at those companies. And then you could take a look at what other people at that company are wearing. And then you just want to dress one step above that, one step better than that, right? And so
Or you can
if
also
you
look at their Instagrams, because that's kind of what I have found has been the most helpful in showing the more genuine side of like their employees. Is
totally.
kind of seeing what the day to day looks like there as well.
Yeah, a lot of companies have like specific, even like career specific Instagrams. And so like Deloitte, McKinsey, Bain all have their company Instagram, and then there's a company careers Instagram as well. And they post stories all the time behind the scenes. So you can see what it's actually really like there. But, if you see a bunch of people wearing, button-up shirts with a jacket, then maybe you wear a button-up shirt with a tie and a jacket, right? If you see a bunch of people in t-shirts, maybe you just wear a button-up shirt. And it's one step higher than what the average of what you see there. So the first one is look the part. If it's a virtual interview, and you're at home, you should still do the same thing, right? Meaning that if you would have worn a shirt and tie and a suit in the office, then that's what you should wear during your interview, even remotely. Some people ask, like, can I wear shorts to an interview? It's really funny. We have a blog post on our website. You can find it after this. That's called "Can I Wear Shorts to an Interview?" And some people do, but be careful, because if you stand up during that interview, or something happens behind you where you have to like shut a window or something like that, there might be an awkward moment. But that's up to you. The
Exactly.
second one is tailoring your elevator pitch. And so you should practice for interviews, and you should have a specific 30 to 60-second introduction of yourself. And a common interview question, especially if it's a short interview, like a 10 to a 20-minute interview, a common interview question is, tell me about yourself. So we've had a few folks just join us. Hey, Happen Ram, West LA. Used to live in LA. Love that city.
Another.
Manhattan. Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
And Cole, thanks for joining us as well. So this is our weekly career huddle. We're talking about how to sell yourself in a 10 to a 20-minute job interview. You got to tailor your elevator pitch. And a big mistake that some people make in the tell me about yourself question is they only talk about things in the past. They're only talking about basically like walking through line by line by line by line their resume and things that they've done in the past. But a job interview and answering that question should not be like a Wikipedia page. Like, this is not like the exhaustive history of everything that you've done in the past.
That's what
So
your resume is for.
that's what your resume is for, and people can read. Hey, Jabber, thanks for joining us. Good to see you, man. So in answering this question, there's three things that you want to do. You want to talk a little bit about your past, just a little bit. You want to talk about your present and what you're doing right now, and you want to talk about your future and where you're going. And the reason why you want to do that instead of just only talking about yourself is in the past, you want to talk about your key 1 to 2 accomplishments. And these are not just like accomplishments like you're reading a bullet point out on your resume. This is storytelling. The anecdotes really, really matter. And that's what makes you stand out. So if you're talking about how you've improved, let's call it NPS, which is Net Promoter Score, which is a metric that companies use to measure their customer experience, you got to tell a story about a project or a story about a specific customer where you went above and beyond and like saved the day. Like, for me, at one point in my career, I was a district manager for the Geek Squad. And we actually had a flower shop where their entire computer systems went offline the day before Valentine's Day, right? That's like the Black Friday of like flower shops. Like, if your computer systems are down on Valentine's Day, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be in trouble with their partners because they didn't come home with flowers that day, right? And so, like, that for a flower shop would like ruin Valentine's Day. Well, we rolled out an entire like parade of like 7 Geek Squad bugs, like Volkswagen bugs, and we brought their computer systems back online, and thousands of customers ended up getting their flowers in time for Valentine's Day. We pretty much saved Valentine's Day, right? So I tell this story because that is about a 30-second story that shows how you bring value to a business's customers. And it's an example of how to sell yourself. Now, here's the interesting thing. Did it sound like I was being arrogant? Does it sound like I was being cocky? Does it sound like I was bragging in that story? No, because in that story, I'm talking about my compassion and my care and how I was able to help somebody else. It's not about me. It's about how I was able to help a company and help a company's customers. And so those are the types of stories that really stand out in an interview. And when you talk about the past, you want to just have one or two of those in your back pocket. The second thing you want to talk about is what you're doing right now. So during a pandemic, there are a lot of really qualified job seekers that are out there. And so if you're looking at two resumes and two people that have about the same level of experience, the way that you can stand out is by showing what you're doing differently right now. Because in all of your past work experience, potentially in your past education, it's like the same pedigree, right? It's the same degree, the same GPA, the same school projects, the same, student organizations that you've been involved in. Maybe both people have done, internships in the past. And so the thing that's going to make you stand out is what you're doing right now. Because right now, a lot of people are pressing pause on their careers, pressing pause on their life. And, to be honest, like my idea of a good Saturday right now is like sitting around watching the home edit. Like, yeah, that's totally fun. Anybody else watch the home edit? Like hit that little heart button down below if you watch the home edit. Because I feel like I'm seeing like all over in people's houses now, just like rainbow colored bookshelves. I'm curious if I'm the only one. But that could be that's how I want to spend Saturday now. But if you're not doing that, if you're out there volunteering, if you're out there doing internships right now, if you're out there getting new certifications, you're out there learning Photoshop right now, you're out there launching a blog, launching a Shopify store, starting to build a following about something that you're passionate about on Instagram, those are the types of things that really make candidates stand out right now. So you want to talk a little bit about the present of what you're doing. And then this is the part that almost nobody does. And so if you take this one step in your job interview, you're going to be like top 99% of people who answer this question. Hal McCormick, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. Kristen joined us. Kendall joined us as well. I'm going to hit this little wave button because it's there. So I'm going to hit the button. This is our weekly career huddle. We're talking about career strategies, mindsets, and tips. And specifically, we're talking about how to sell yourself in a job interview. If you have a short 10 to 20 minute job interview, this is how to sell yourself. So in the tell me about yourself question, you talk a little bit about the past. You talk about that anecdote, that story. Lori Okins, good to see you. Lori Okin 05. And so you talk a little bit about the past. You talk a little bit about the present, why you stand out, even during a pandemic, what you're doing to better yourself and learn, be a lifelong learner during a pandemic. And the last part of selling yourself is where you're going in the future, right? And so at one point in my career, I was learning how to sell televisions at Best Buy. Like literally it was selling like SLR cameras and televisions at Best Buy. I don't know what this comment means. OMG, Vincent, just Ryan Seacrest us with that tip. I am like the worst. I am not the person that
I
you
don't know. Take
want
it as a
on your
compliment.
trivia team. I'm going to take that as a compliment, James.
Yeah.
But I am like not the person that you want like on your trivia team because I'm just like or Jeopardy. I am like the worst with pop culture. I do know that I'm about the same height as Ryan Seacrest though, which means I'm pretty short. So the last thing that you want to do is you want to talk about the future and where you're going. And like 95% of job interviewers don't do this. When I used to sell digital cameras at Best Buy, one of the things that like really worked was you would put the digital camera in somebody's hand and then you would ask them about the next vacation that they were going to take. And somebody would say like, oh yeah, I'm going to Hawaii in like 6 months from now. I'm going to Europe, going to London. And then you try to get them to imagine themselves using that digital camera in the place that they're going to be. So, actually, let's do a little bit of role playing. This is like a little bit awkward. Carson, like after the pandemic, where do you want to go?
Rome.
Rome. So, like when you go to Rome, like what do you want to do there?
Eat a lot of pizza, pasta, go sightseeing, take photos with family and friends to remember it.
And like, I don't know why, but when I think Rome, I think like little scooters,
I
right?
think like the Lizzie McGuire movie, to be completely honest, but
Yeah.
that might
So
be.
like imagine you go there. Like, wouldn't it be awesome to like have a GoPro with you and
Yes.
just go around and I mean maybe you're like following every single ingredient on a pizza, like back to where those tomatoes are grown, and you're like capturing all of this to be able to share with your Instagram. This is in a job interview, the same thing. You want to show where your future fits into that company, right? So in the tell me about yourself question, most people just talk about the past. But if you talk about in the future, I'm looking to join a tech startup that has somewhere around 50 employees because I want to be able to make a big impact at that company. It's harder to be able to do that at a company that has 20,000 employees. So I'm really looking to join a marketing team that's around 10 people in a company around 50 people in a space where we can help fight climate change,
Yeah.
right? And if you're interviewing at a company, if you say, yeah, in the future, I want to be on a small marketing team at about a mid-size, 50 team employee, somewhere where I can make an impact on climate change. And that company just happens to be a startup around 50 employees that is, I don't know, working on making recycling or composting easier for the world, that person's going to go, oh my gosh, like I could totally see how this person's future aligns with like here.
Mhm.
I could see
And
them
then
fitting
another
in
thing,
here.
if you're wondering how you can kind of explain what direction you want to go, maybe you don't know. If you joined us 2 weeks ago, we talked about goals. So a lot of this could be breaking down the goals of, so I want to be in this place, and then taking those steps back, and then that can be used to describe, here's what I'm doing now, and here's what I'm doing in the near future, to make it super easy and present it very well. And then another thing also, and when you're talking about the future, coming from that, like knowing, oh, maybe they are a small company, they hit all the check boxes, and like you think you'd be a good fit for them. This is also a good area to say how you would provide value to their company as well.
Yeah. So we got an answer. So to Ryan Seacrest, somebody is when you go to a commercial break and you talk about a different topic before you share the results. Um, Love that. So Dustin asked a question, how do you improve conversational public speaking interview skills? If you have a question, throw that in that question bubble down below. And in about 10 minutes from now, after we get back from this commercial break, we're going to answer all those questions. I'm just kidding. So hit that question button just because the chat goes like crazy when people join. Hey, Kennedy, thanks for joining us. E Wine Hall 5. Good to see you. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to prepare more meaningful anecdotes. Here's the number one mistake that over the course of the thousands of job interviews that I've done that people make is when they're asked the question, why do you want to work at this company? They say something that benefits themselves
And this we see all the time. It's
all the
very,
time,
very
all
common.
the time. And so, and here, what do I mean by that? So if I'm asked a question, hey, why do I want to work at this company? And I go, well, I want to work at a company where, I get to travel a lot. It's always been one of my goals to travel the world. And I saw on this job posting that, this role does a lot of international business work. And that's why I want to work at this company. Well, for the company, it's just like, well, so what? Right?
Yeah.
Like, good for you, Vincent.
It's not really mutually
Good luck with that.
beneficial.
Yeah, it's not beneficial to the company at all. And so, and this happens all the time too, even in our Vyten internship. And this is why I love working with our Vyten interns is because we're able to give them this feedback before they go apply for other jobs in the future. Is I hear a lot, well, I want to do this internship so that I can learn more marketing skills and I want to be able to like better my resume. Yeah, totally. That's true. That's why you do internships is to make your resume better. But like that doesn't help me. That helps you, but that doesn't help me, right? And I'm not saying that from a place of being selfish. I'm saying that from a place of this is what employers are thinking. is when you're asked the question of why you want to work at that company, it's time for you to sell how you're going to help that company, because
Mm-hmm.
companies grow teams in order to be able to deliver on their mission, right? So each company, every company has some type of mission. And you can often find this all over the company's social media, all over the company's About Us page, in their earnings calls, if they're a publicly traded company. Vyten's mission is to help business professionals achieve fulfilling careers with the pay and purpose they deserve. And you can see that on our Instagram. You can see that on our LinkedIn. You can see that all of our website. You can see that if you search for Vyten in Google. Vyten's mission is to help business professionals launch or accelerate their careers and help them achieve fulfilling careers with the pay and purpose that they deserve. So if you're asked the question, well, why do you want to work at Vyten? Why do you want to be an intern at Vyten? Your answer needs to help Vyten achieve that purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if you're applying at Google, you better know that Google's mission is to organize the world's data. And the reason that you want to work there has to be aligned with and has to contribute and has to help them towards their mission of organizing the world's data and information. And so this ends up being really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
I got one more thing in a short interview is you got to bring questions. A lot of the times people will ask like, hey, is it okay to take notes during a job interview? Is it okay to ask questions during a job interview? Is it okay to bring your questions to a job interview? And the answer is yes. If it's a virtual interview, I would literally
Have it right next to you. Ready.
yeah, I would literally have it down below you, and it's okay to be like doing like this in an
Mm-hmm.
interview. I would even like at the beginning of the interview, hey Vanessa, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. I'm gonna hit the little wave button. Um, so I love that I'm like starting to be able to translate Instagram handles into first names, even when they're not in the handle. But it's also awesome to be able to
It's
have all
little
of you here.
things.
At the beginning of the interview, I would literally pull my notes up, like my little padfolio, and I would at some point go, "Hey, if you see me looking down, I'm listening. I want to take notes and make sure that I'm really absorbing everything that
We
you're
can
telling me."
after the next commercial break, we'll talk about like etiquette for presenting yourself on a virtual interview. But
Totally.
going back to yeah.
So So the questions that you want to ask, you want to have it down in your notes already. You want to bring those into the interview with you. And I like to ask questions in a job interview that are kind of like level two questions. What I mean by level two question is it shows that if you're in a 15 to 20-minute interview, it shows that you've done at least 15 to 20 minutes of research on the company before you came to that interview. So one of the worst things, Win07, thanks for joining us. This is our weekly career huddle. We're talking about how to sell yourself in a job interview. So a short 15 to 20-minute job interview. One of the best ways that you can sell yourself is show that you've done your homework. So a level one question at the end of a job interview would be like, well, tell me about some of the projects that your company's working on this year, or tell me about some of the products that you've released lately. Well, here's the thing. If you're interviewing at Dyson, you don't need to ask this person what their latest products are, because if you were really doing your research, you would have already seen the announcement on YouTube. You would have already seen the new website. You would already be subscribed to that company's email newsletter. And so you could literally see like, what is the sale that they're running this week? If you're interviewing, hey, Sam, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. This is our weekly career huddle. So if you are interviewing at Dyson for their marketing team, for instance, like the second that you're interested in working at Dyson, you should subscribe to the company's newsletter. You should follow them on LinkedIn. You should follow them on Twitter, because their marketing team is putting all that stuff out. So if you want to work on their marketing team, you should already see that stuff. I'll tell you what a level two question is. If you're interviewing with the person that's responsible for like email marketing for Dyson, hey Vanessa, hey Samuel, yesterday I saw the email that Dyson sent out about the Black Friday sale that's happening next week, and I thought it was so cool, like the creative of that campaign. Tell me about what it was like behind the scenes, and I'm trying to get a sense of like how the creative process works at Dyson. And tell me about how the success of that campaign is measured.
And not only is that a great question to hear, but then as an interviewer or recruiter answering that question, people genuinely tend to think the conversation went exponentially better if they get to talk about themselves.
Totally.
So they'll afterwards have an outlook and say, oh, like this was a really good conversation. Like I got to, and they won't necessarily think it's because they got to talk more, but oftentimes it is. And so when you're asking those questions, it's not only to prove that like you are at that level too. It's also so they can have the time to talk about themselves, because at the end of the day, people love talking about accomplishments and things that they're proud of. So.
And this is a unique question. As a job interviewee, as a job seeker, when you're interviewing, and like the interview days can be long. Like I've had days as when I worked on a recruiting team in a Fortune 100 company, I had days where I literally had 50 phone calls to make in a day. 50 phone calls. And the asking a unique question at the end of an interview is one of the best ways to be memorable.
Exactly.
And in that, you're proving in your question that you've actually done your research. And so the person's going to go, huh, wow, that's a below the surface question. That's a really unique question. And like, so-and-so really did their homework in order to be able to know to even ask that question. And
then,
if it's a publicly traded company, you should always just listen to the last earnings call. Go ahead, Carson.
I was just going to say, Sam said, did you say you emailed the marketing team to ask about that? No, that would be if you were our hypothetical of interning in like for a marketing position. So you'd be interning with the marketing team, just to clarify, but it can apply into any field that you want to go into.
Yeah. Great question, Sam. Panta Astoria, thanks for joining us. What I love about Sam's photo and Panta Astoria's photos is they both have oceans in the background, which makes me miss traveling so much. All right, we're gonna start hitting the questions. I got one more thing. If you're selling yourself in a 10 to a 20-minute interview, one more thing. You have to quantify your achievements. You have to quantify your achievements. And so you might be thinking like, well, what if I don't have any work experience? What if the only thing that, I've worked at is my high school job. And for me, my high school job was actually working at a water park. And so, working at the water park, it could be easy to put job responsibilities on my resume. And it could be easy to talk about what my job responsibilities were. But in an interview, it's all about storytelling and telling anecdotes that frame up your accomplishments. And so whether it's, hey, I ranked number 1 out of 100 lifeguards on our weekly safety audits. True story, by the way. I was a great lifeguard. And like, that's an example of being able to quantify. But we didn't really have like quote unquote business metrics. That's just a ranking. Or you could say something like, in a student organization that I was in college, true story, was one of the top fundraisers. We hosted at the time what we called an inner tube water polo tournament, which is basically like, I can't, some people can't tread water for like 7 to 15 minutes. So we decided to play water polo on inner tubes, and it was awesome. And we fundraised a ton of money, and all of that went to go benefit a nonprofit. But being able to talk about, we had 200 people involved in that event, and we were able to fundraise thousands of dollars could be another example. And that's not at work. That's just something that I did, as a volunteer. And so those can all be ways of being able to quantify your achievements. But whether it's a blah, blah, blah percent increase, whether it was I was ranked in the top 5%, whether it was I was the number 1 out of 36 other people, or whether it's we set a fundraising goal of this amount and we were able to achieve 150% to our goal. Those are all different ways of quantifying both work experience or even non-work experience. Jabber asks, Vince, how long can you continuously tread water?
It depends if it's on an inner tube or not.
Yeah, on an inner tube, the entire lengths of like the Lord of the Rings series if I'm sitting on an inner tube. But not on an inner tube, actually treading water, about an hour is how long I could tread water for.
And
Weird
then
question.
so while you kind of organize what questions came in and what we're going to answer next, I'll give a little brief tips on during a virtual interview. If you are over Zoom, here are some ways to make yourself look more professional. One thing that is really sad that we see too often is people just opening their laptop from their bed. It's not a good look. You want any like future employers or hiring managers, or even if you're at a networking like interest call, you want them to see you as professional. So you want to be like sitting up. You want to have your camera at eye height. You want to have good lighting. You just want to be addressed professionally, at least in the top half. And then another thing is in terms of, you can't really make eye contact the same way if you are virtual versus in person. And so one thing that I personally like to do, if I have any like questions that I'm going to ask, I put it on a sticky note right next to my camera on the top of my computer, so that if I'm asking, it looks like I'm asking the question more eye to eye, because so that I'm not like looking down or looking at the screen like that.
Yeah. And if you look at the backgrounds that I'm using or the background that Carson's using, good, neutral, clean backgrounds, not cluttered, not messy. And lighting ends up being really important as well. So both of us are in well-lit rooms with windows in front of us, not behind us. And it helps with the lighting, and all that matters. So that has been kind of our quick tips for how to sell yourself in a 10 to 20 minute interview. We post the replays to this episode all the time on our IGTV, on our tab of our profile. So make sure, if you haven't already, on the VytenCouncil profile page, turn on notifications on your phone for when we go live and when we post an IGTV, and you'll be able to watch the replays for all of this. So I'm going to pull Ryan Seacrest, as James says, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Vyten internship program.
Also, for the interns this week, the keyword is Ryan Seacrest.
All right. So Seacrest is the secret password for the week. Hey, Michael, thanks for joining us. We need your help. We have a cohort right now of about 50 interns that are starting in December and going to be going through the Vyten internship program in December. And we still have room for more people. So down below, or on the pinned comment, vyten.com/intern, it's in our Instagram bio as well. If you're interested in applying for our virtual internship program, it can be done entirely self-paced. We have these weekly sessions. We have a weekly intern meeting, but you can join and watch the replay at night if you're, in, Europe right now, or in Australia or New Zealand or wherever you might be. But if you're in the US, it's great because they're live sessions where you can ask questions, interact with other interns, meet other interns as well. And if you're part of our internship program, we need your help. We need your help, and we're trying to help as many people as we possibly can. And so if you know somebody that wants to go into a career in business in the future, whether that's marketing, software engineering, product management, project management, operations, strategy, data analyst, data science, sales, any of those areas, we want you, we want them, we want your friends to be able to apply for our internship.
So we see some of our interns in the chat, as well as some quick questions. So do you have to be authorized to work in the US to participate in our internship? And so you can be an international student and participate in this as well. If you need college credit from a US university, then you do need work authorization. So let me say that again. If you are currently enrolled in a US accredited university and you're trying to get academic credit, yes, you need work authorization in the US to be able to do that. If you don't want academic credit for it and you just want to participate,
Yeah, I mean, we have students in Australia that are in school in Australia, don't have work authorization in the US. It can still be an international internship. That's fine. Do you have to be a student to participate? You need to be a lifelong learner to participate, meaning you need to be the type of person that wants to learn to participate. But no, you do not have to be a currently enrolled student in a school right now to be able to participate. Anybody that's interested in getting building up marketing, operations, data analyst, software engineering, technical skills, we have projects in this internship. We have self-paced learning that you can participate in the internship to be able to do that. So fill out the application. There's an email address on that page. You'll get an application confirmation. And if you have any specific questions, you can reply to that email with questions. All right, let's take some of these questions in here. So first question comes from Sherry. Is it better to apply directly on the company's website or through LinkedIn? That's a really great question. I always recommend applying through the company website. The company website goes straight into that company's applicant tracking system. And so they oftentimes will ask more detailed questions. And so I would always recommend applying on the company's website. Even if you see the job posting on LinkedIn, you could always just do a quick search for the company website. Now, your job search process, though, does not stop there. In the Vyten method for our job search, we talk about all of the back doorways into that company as well. So two things that you got to do. If you already know somebody that works at that company, you should reach out to that person first. If you already know somebody that works at that company, you should reach out to that person first. That'll help you with information to be able to tailor your application, and they can potentially get you a conversation through that back door. If you don't know somebody at that company, I would apply, but I would, in addition to that, at the same time, I would also start networking and getting informational interviews set up at that company. So great question there. Next question comes from Jabber. Any thoughts about the business analyst role? BA roles are a really great role. You learn a ton about the business. You work with a lot of different departments across the company. And, you know, it is one of the roles where the career trajectory from a BA role is really, really great. You can go into a ton of different areas from there. So I'm a big fan
And
of BA roles.
that is
Amber's,
currently growing right now.
yeah, Amber Carlton, thanks for joining us. This is our weekly career huddle where we're talking about our career strategies, mindsets, and tips. We got one more question that we're going to take, and then we're going to wrap up this session. An interviewer asked me how much other companies are offering you. Why? Yeah, it's interesting that they're asking what other companies are offering you. I would stick to what your salary expectations are. It's really irrelevant what other companies are offering you. And you should do your homework. You should do your research on what the market rate for that position is with your level of experience. If you're a Vyten Plus member or you're one of our Vyten Pro members, we actually have an on-demand course as part of our Vyten Plus program where you can actually see step-by-step exactly how I would research salary ranges and what my response to that question in particular would be. And we spend like an entire hour just on this. Somebody recently that went through that salary negotiation course during a pandemic got laid off, and they actually got a $5,000 raise after getting laid off and starting a new job this summer. So that course is called Negotiating Your Salary. If you're a Vyten Plus member, just go to the courses section on our website. If you're not a Vyten Plus member, you can go to Vyten.com and you can see the information about our membership that includes that course. But Jabber, I know you are one of our Vyten Plus members, so just log in and definitely check out that Negotiating Your Salary workshop. Riley, thanks for joining us right at the tail end of this. We're going to post a replay to this weekly career huddle on our IGTV. So that is, if you go to the VytenCouncil Instagram page, there's a button in the middle to switch. I think it's a TV icon with little antennas. Yeah. So hit that and you'll be able to catch the replay of this session and all of our other weekly career huddle sessions as well. All right. That has been a great session. Carson, did I miss anything? Any parting words?
For anyone who joined late and is joining from our internship, the keyword again is Ryan Seacrest. So be sure to submit that. But and then again, if anyone has any questions that they want us to answer, maybe next session, just make sure you click on the link in our bio and text Vincent any questions or topics that you really want covered.
Yeah, we have a big surprise coming up for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And so during next week's career huddle, we're going to be unveiling our big surprise. And so we have some pretty exciting stuff coming up. So we'll see you guys next time. Hope everybody has a great day. And if you haven't already, turned on notifications for when we start a new live or when we post an IGTV on our profile. Dustin just asked a question: how do you improve conversational public speaking interview skills? Dustin, I know you're a Vyten Plus member, so why don't you post that in the ask for feedback page in the VytenCouncil, and let's continue this conversation in the VytenCouncil. We'll see you there. All right, take care, everybody.
Bye.